Hello everyone, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. My presentation is based on journal, uh, journal article and analysis of the framework in the Jakarta Post Editorial. What pandemic teach us is presented by me, Vivan Fatwaulia, and based on the journal written by Dr. Nur Azmi Rohimajaya and Dr. William Hammer, and published in 2022 in the International Journal of Research in Education. This study explores how language in media, specifically in editorial, is used not only to inform but also to express opinions, judgment, and emotion. The case being discussed is a very emotional one. A high school student died by suicide, reportedly due to pressure from online learning. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the focus how editors use the language, express evaluation and opinion, and appraisal theory to explore emotion, stance, and intensity in learning. So why this topic is important? Because in media is not neutral. What an editor writes, how they describe event, what words they choose, this all shape the way we as a reader think and feel. In this particular case, the Jakarta Post published an editorial responding to the tragedy. The article doesn't only describe situation, it evaluates it, criticizes the system, and calls for change. To this study, the author applied appraisal theory to explore emotion, stance, and intensity in writing. A framework that helps analyze evaluate in text. Newspaper editorial have the power to influence the public discourse. They are not just reporting events, but also shaping public opinion. This is especially true during a crisis like the pandemic. The editorial influence public opinion through language. The article responds to the tragedy, suicide of the student in South Sulawesi. The lack of appraisal theory help analyze the emotional and persuasive aspect of this editorial. It highlights inequality and implies that the system failed the student because students in Indonesia have like situation like internet, far from the signal, and that's where appraisal theory come in. What is appraisal theory? Appraisal theory developed by Martin and White in 2005. It's a part of systemic functional linguistics. It focuses on how writer evaluates people, action, and situation. There are three main components. The first is attitude, the second is engagement, the third is graduation. The first is attitude, like a feeling, judgment, and appreciation, how the writer expresses feelings or evaluation. It is positive or negative. The second is engagement, whose voice is used, writer or other, who is being used, writer on or someone else. The third is graduation. How strong or intense is the language used? These three components help us to analyze tone, help us to analyze stance, and emotional impact of a text. We're gonna move to methodology, slide 5. The author of this journal used a qualitative descriptive approach. They chose a Jakarta Post Editorial date on October 24 in 2020 and analyzed it sentence by sentence. They identified keywords, phrases, and the clause that represent attitude, that represent engagement, and graduation. And this allowed them to see how the editorial construct its emotional tone, its judgment toward stakeholders, and how it's framed the message. The next slide is finding attitudes. Let's start with attitude. The refers to expression of emotion, of moral judgment and aesthetic appreciation. Mostly negative tone like tragedy, unbearable, distress, violent, strong negative evaluation. In the editorial tone is mostly negative, especially when discussing the suicide of students. The burden of online learning, and the failure of teacher and government. Because the example include tragedy, distress, violence, and criticism of school, teacher, government. Some positive tone like protecting students, top priority, improving standard, and supportive of solution. And there's hope support for government initiative and hope for change. The next is engagement. Now let's move to engagement, which shadow whether the opinion comes from writer alone or supported by others. The editorial uses a mix of monogloss and heterogloss. Monogloss, where the writer speaks directly, for example, our teachers called below, and heterogloss from external sources, like where other sources are quoted, for example, according to ministry data or the Indonesian Child Protection Commission, and because heterogloss give balance between opinion and evidence. Using heteroglossic reference give credibility. It shows the writer opinion is based on fact and not just emotion. This also helps reader trust the message. The next slide is findings. Graduation. Graduation refers to how intense or strong the writer express something. In this editorial, there are many upscale expressions like must be top priority, high quality future generation, downscale or neutral like rather than support development, must be a top priority, work still, soft criticism, graduation help manage tone and urgency. This word amplify the urgency and seriousness of the issue. They are also softer or downscale expressions which are used to avoid sounding too harsh or too emotional. This balance makes the editorial powerful but still respectful. The last is conclusion. The editorial uses appraisal language too. And the editorial express concern about education inequality, use appraisal results to build a sound criticism and call for action, shows how language is used not just to report but evaluate or persuade, and suggests urgent reform in education. The use of negative attitudes, references, voice, and strong emphasis help deliver a message that is not only emotional but also credible and persuasive. In short, this editorial is not just a reaction, it is call for reflection and action. This study show us that language matters. It is remind us that every word a journalist use is a choice with emotional and ideological impact. For language, it's a tool to analyze meaning and power in text. Teacher and student, it encourage critical reading. Writer and journalist, it show how tone, stance, and reference shape reader perception. Appraisal theory helps us become more aware, more analytical, and more responsible with our language. And the last, thank you so much for watching my video, for your attention. I hope this presentation helped you understand. Maybe I made many mistakes in this presentation, and I hope this presentation helped you understand how appraisal theory works in real media text, especially during a time as critical as the pandemic. If you have any question or want to discuss further, I will be happy to answer. Write a comment below. Thank you everyone. I think enough for me. I'm sorry if I made many mistakes. Hadanallahu wa iyyakum ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.